In 1948, 21-year-old Harold Reiner and his wife Ruth set out as brand new missionaries to Brazil. In that first year on the field, Harold could never have known the joys and tragedies that lay ahead. But his passion to serve the Lord has been relentless and has carried him forward for 60 years. Harold poured himself into ministry during those early years, but faced the first of several heartbreaks in 1960. That year, Ruth lost her battle with cancer, and the Lord took her home. Despite his loss, Harold could not shake the call to Brazil. Against the advice of many of his confidants, Harold returned to Brazil as a single parent with 4 young children. But God did not leave Harold without a partner. A year earlier, Joan Cook had arrived in Brazil for her first term as a single missionary. Harold and Joan married in 1961 and eventually had 2 children of their own, Sandra and Douglas. Tragedy was again to strike the Reiner family. In 1962, the year of Sandra's birth, both Peter and Sandra lost their lives in a fire when the plane Harold was piloting hit a hole in the runway and flipped onto its top. Missionary colleague Bernice Lind died in the accident as well, and Harold and Joan were both severely injured. The Reiner family experienced several other blows over the years. In addition to Peter and Sandra, Harold has buried in Brazilian soil his 15-year-old grandson James, son of Timothy and Vicky, and his brother missionary Ray Reiner. God brought many joys and victories to offset the losses. At least 13 churches exist today as products of Harold's ministry. In just the last few years, he has launched a fresh initiative into formerly unreached interior areas of northeast Brazil. Over the course of his service, Harold has distinguished himself as an evangelist and church planter of the highest caliber. Many of the communities Harold has reached are accessible only by aircraft. Dr. Gary Anderson once asked Harold whether he knew he would use his pilot's training in missionary service. He responded with a bit of surprise in his voice and said, "I went home from the field to train to fly because I wanted to take the gospel beyond where my mule would carry me." As a pioneer in missionary aviation in Brazil, Harold gave significant leadership to the expansion of aviation, developing the longest continually operating missionary aviation program in that nation, and gaining Brazil the distinction of having more pilots and aircraft in operation than any other Baptist mid-missions field. Harold has maintained a significant role in providing sound theological education for Brazilian laymen and church leaders. His involvement in developing the Baptist Seminary of the Cariri Valley in Juazeiro do Norte helped propel that training center into the largest of all of our Bible schools in Brazil. In fact, it is the largest of the more than 50 formal training programs operated around the globe under the banner of Baptist Mid-Missions. Harold gave primary leadership for relocating the school to its present site in Crato and led in the creation of a business investment plan that can perpetually subsidize seminary operations. In addition, he personally helped design the campus master plan and individual buildings that have provided Cariri with a campus equivalent to most Bible colleges in the States. Harold helped provide the vision and leadership needed to turn Fortaleza Academy into the largest of all Baptist Mid-Missions-sponsored MK schools. He was integrally involved as one of the field leaders responsible for the acquisition, design, and building of the current academy property. This property also houses the offices of Baptist Mid-Missions of Brazil, which Harold has likewise offered major leadership for decades. Harold and Joan pioneered Baptist Mid-Missions camping ministry in Brazil by establishing the Baptist camp of Iguatu in 1964. He was also vitally involved from the very beginning of Treasure Island Camp, a camp that can be reached only by aircraft or boat. He designed and helped build a motor launch capable of carrying a jeep, 150 campers, and a week's supplies across 15 miles of open water to Treasure Island. When asked where he acquired a plan for the boat, he said they made it up as they went. Calculating water displacement is not all that difficult. It is that can-do spirit that has turned most obstacles Harold ever faced into stepping stones to countless advances for the cause of Christ. For decades, he was a perennially elected leader within the Northeast region, as well as in the All-Brazil Field Council of Baptist Mid-Missions of Brazil. He has gained the confidence of Brazilian church leaders in the fellowship of national churches that have grown out of that missionary effort. Harold also has been an inspiration to churches across the northeastern United States and beyond as he has challenged churches and individuals to intensify their Great Commission efforts. Harold is dogmatic in his convictions, visionary in his influence, tireless in his labors, and totally surrendered to God for his service. All qualities desirable, if not essential, among pioneers. He completes 60 years of consecutive missionary service this year, and in no way could be accused of being in semi-retirement. He is the first Baptist Mid-Missions missionary to achieve 60 years of active service and has reached a pinnacle no other missionary on record in our circles has ever reached. To God be the glory. Great things he has done.